let's stand at the bedside and have it out as two clinicians looking over the decisions on a desperately ill young lady. She's on a ventilator. It's 10 days since a hypoxic brain injury. We're the attending physicians on this case. The family is hoping for the best. They are suffering profoundly. We believe this child is not brain dead, but there's not a likelihood, or maybe you disagree, of meaningful recovery. What do we do here?
This is the great thing that makes this show so unique, Drew, that you and I can chat as doctor to doctor and the audience can eavesdrop on us. What I'm going to say, Drew, is that I think you're hanging a little too much black crepe. Why don't you tell everybody what that means?
Well, what I'm saying is I personally am biased because if I could not have a fully meaningful recovery, I would not want to recover. And I would haunt anybody that subjected me to a lifetime in bed or with feeding tubes or contracted or unable to express myself verbally or even really put me at significant risk for that kind of thing. And I'm saying this young lady is at risk for that as the best possible outcome in all probability. You disagree?
She's 10 days out, and she was placed in a medically induced coma. It's not a coma from having slipped and banged her head or even from the drowning. They put her into that coma because at that time, on day one, they must have thought there has to be some kind of chance of resuscitation, or we're not going to go to the bother and the expense of doing it.
Dr. Lloyd,
people have come out of medical comas after weeks and many weeks.
10 days. 10 days is that point. We're right there where the probability of meaningful recovery. When they lighten her up, her coma, she seizes. She had generalized seizures, which suggest profound generalized brain injury. Not impossible to have some recovery, but why don't we begin talking more realistically, you and I, to the family about what's likely to happen here? That's my question.
All right, the answer to that question is we're hearing two different narratives. We're hearing the family on the outside of the building saying everything's stable, everything's looking good. We think she's actually getting better. Behind the scenes, they may be having a more direct face-to-face conversation with what needs to happen going forward. Yeah. And we don't know.
But don't you hope so? I mean, for their well-being and for them to process all this. It's so I keep thinking about Bobby Brown. This is he lost his ex-wife, he lost his daughter. This man, I mean, you talk about suffering. This man has got to be suffering.